Yeah, we're joined by Shawn Bednard, the play-by-play voice for the Erie Otters. The season just over a week away. Shawn, are you excited to get back on the bus and hitting those road trips?
I'm excited about the season. I'm excited about the games. The bus, I'm not as excited about. I think we did the math from last season, and I think consecutive days that we spent just sitting on the bus, not even just on the road, but just sitting on the bus, ended up being like 14 or 15 days cumulatively. And when you really put your life in retrospect, spending 2 weeks of my life sitting in a cramped bus seat, it really makes you think about a lot of things. But no, I'm stoked to get the season back, and especially for this year, I think there's a lot of great things to look forward to from a league perspective and from an Otters perspective.
See, I used to be the Sudbury Wolves broadcaster, and I know what those long bus rides are like.
Oh
So
yeah,
to do the math like that, that makes my legs feel a little, a little tired.
it's humbling. It's humbling if nothing else.
Oh, for sure. And the Erie Otters, it's been a bit since they've made the postseason. Last time there, 2017, when they were OHL champions. So, are you starting to sense there's a little bit of a buzz in the atmosphere in Erie with this young lineup that could make some noise?
Yeah. I think it's getting to the point where, I think after COVID, guys were coming back and they were saying, we were supposed to make the playoffs until the pandemic hit. And then we didn't make the playoffs that season. So then the next season you're hearing, we'd really like to make the playoffs. We feel last season was a disappointment. But when the guys got back for training camp this season, it's playoffs or bust. Like we're sick of this. We're sick of being, one of the teams sitting on the sidelines. And I think, that attitude stems from not only the fact that, no player on our team who was an Erie Otter, through and through, not someone who came from a different organization and became an Otter. None of them have any playoff experience. And I think it's a little tough on these guys when, you go to major junior hockey and you think about those playoff atmospheres and those heroic moments. And, I think, again, it does stem down from head coach Stan Butler, 27 years in the Canadian Hockey League and major junior hockey. He sets an expectation of every full season that he has been a head coach in the Ontario Hockey League, save for one season, he has made the playoffs. So it's not a hope. It's barely an expectation. It's almost one of those things that's just cornerstone for a Stan Butler team is the team will make the playoffs. It's not they might make the playoffs. So I think the buzz is there because you've got this mix of now you've got older guys who've been around, who like Kerry Torrance, like Owen Johnston, like Caleb Smith, who they've been around. They've really grown up a lot in the last couple of seasons. And you think about the youngsters who are coming in. Matthew Schaefer is obviously the name that jumps off the page, but then Wesley Royston has showcased a lot of his skills and ability. Now being able to bring up Nicholas Halamago and Ty Henry and being able to see what they can do on the defensive end. There is a buzz. I never want to put the cart before the horse or, put the horse out before a cart's even built or what have you. But, I think this is a season where there's going to be performances because these guys know that it is playoffs or bust.
Yeah, and the Erie Insurance Arena, probably one of the loudest rinks in the OHL. So it would be great to get playoff hockey back there.
I know our VP did an interview earlier this week with one of our media partners talking about the season. And, I think he put it in a really good way is that it was our final game of the season on March 23rd. We had realistically nothing to play for at that point, and we had 6,300 people in the building, a near sellout in a game that didn't matter,
Yeah.
So I think the support, the hunger is still there from the fan side. And there's been some games where, it's gotten loud, some crazy comeback games on Thanksgiving against the Sioux the last couple of years. And, I talk with people around the arena, they're like, oh, just you wait.
Yeah.
Just you wait to see how loud this building can really get.
Yeah, it's one of the must-visit rinks in the Ontario Hockey League circuit. And, for the Erie Otters, you're in such a tough division, that Midwest. The power was in the Eastern Conference last year, and this year it seems like all that power is shifting to the West, and more particularly in your division. So yeah, it's gonna be tight there for the Erie Otters.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a gauntlet. I know London is a team that's highly regarded in the CHL preseason top 10. I'm still not counting out the Guelph Storm as a team that couldn't contend to be division champions again as well. And then, I mean, there's no easy trip to Owen Sound. There's no easy game against Owen Sound. The Kitchener Rangers, I mean, they bought in a lot last year, but that doesn't mean that they are still not a team with a lot of dangerous pieces. So I think it's baptism by fire. You want to prove that you're a playoff team. You want to prove that you're a team that should be able to play in the postseason against the big boys. Well, you're playing the big boys, 7, 8 times a season now. So, show up or shut up is really, really the perception when you're playing in the Midwest.
Oh, exactly. And it's with the Barrie Colts, we see the Owen Sound attack 6 times a year. So they're a big bodied team. So I can well imagine that those Erie Owen Sound games must get pretty intense.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you've been to, of course, the arena there, right on the Bay Shore. I
Yeah.
mean, those boards are not giving. So if you get into the boards there, you are feeling every year of those boards.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And then you look at the West Division, you got the Saginaw Spirit who are loading up. They're going to host the Memorial Cup. That team you've already had a look at in the preseason, but obviously preseason doesn't matter. But still, you guys got an early look at that Saginaw team.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think, even before they knew that they were going to be the Memorial Cup hosts last year, they were still building up pieces and still getting guys like Hunter Haight,
Yeah.
who, you acquire a guy like that, and suddenly your team goes from really good to really, really good. And then a few of the offseason acquisitions that they've had so far, again, bolstering up. It's an arms race out there. And, you only get the chance to host the Memorial Cup once in a generation, let alone being an American team, let alone be a team that hasn't been to the Memorial Cup before. So, Saginaw, I mean, they have the target on their back every single night, no matter who they're playing, where they're playing. Everyone knows this is the team that's hosting the Memorial Cup this year. This team is the only team in the entire Canadian Hockey League that knows without a shadow of a doubt that they will be playing in May. We want to be the guys to beat them right now. So then everyone says, man, Otters had a good season, but hey, look what they did against the Memorial Cup host. So, I think it's exciting for them, the arms race of being able to get these, nuclear weapons on the offensive and defensive side. But at the same time, it's the pressure of every single night. You are the hot ticket in town that everyone wants a piece of you.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun to see. And I'm hoping that one day the Otters get to host the Mem Cup because I think the Erie Insurance has to be one of the top 5 rinks in the OHL. You've seen all the rinks. What's one of your favorite trips?
Favorite trips, for me, I'm always a softie for going back home. I'm from Michigan originally, so I always like the Flint Saginaw swing and being able to see family and friends. And both arenas offer, good sight lines, great crowds. I always love the sight lines in Flint. I can give the same old answer that everyone says of going to Kitchener or London on a Friday, Saturday night is not a bad way to spend a weekend. But I did like this is probably one of my more controversial opinions, but everyone's talked about Sudbury and it's an older barn, it's a big community rink, it's got a wolf on a string. I actually really liked the sight lines up there. I liked the environment at the game. So there are not many places in the OHL that if we have to take a trip there that I'm going to be upset about, but I think we get really lucky in the fact that most of the teams that we're playing in the Western Conference have really nice buildings, really nice sight lines, and good sound and good crowds. So I've just enjoyed the opportunity. Even if the legs are a little tired the next day or the back hurts a little bit more, I feel like I'm 50 when I'm in my late 20s. I think just being able to get off the bus and be in a new city or a city you don't get to go to often is something fun. And I'm really excited to see Brantford this year. I'm really
Yeah,
excited to see what they've done with the Civic Complex there and how they make that an OHL city again.
yeah, and that's going to be the smallest barn in the OHL circuit too. So it's from the sounds of it, with the season ticket holder drive and the demand for tickets, that place is going to be buzzing.
Yeah, it's gonna be appointment viewing to be in
Yeah.
there. I mean, if you're there, you're gonna have to be making noise because every single thing that you say is gonna be reverberated up and down and all around that arena. So that's gonna be exciting.
And hopefully they have a spread in the media room similar to what they have in Kitchener, because the media
Oh
guys, we need to
yeah.
be fed.
Well, that's the outside of losing the person himself, but that's one of the big things about losing Dom, from the Kitchener Rangers. I know he was the king of catering there for
Yeah.
Kitchener, and he did a great job in making sure that Farwell and Pope were well fed, as well as all of us in the media.
Yeah. And Saginaw, that's another good spot too.
Anywhere that you can go that you can load up on donuts and pizza and pie and cobbler and sometimes nachos, that gets a check mark in my book. So if we're talking about like top media rooms, then Saginaw was certainly worthy of being the Memorial Cup hosts.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And then an honorable mention, Sault Ste. Marie, the soup.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a nice room. It's cool to be surrounded by the jerseys and yeah, I mean something about a soup and a hockey rink and especially in the Sioux where at least from my experience of my trips there, it's always cold. So soup always hits different.
Yeah, it's always a good time up in the Sioux. So, Shawn, thanks for coming out and doing this chat today.
Mike, truly a pleasure. Thank you for having me and looking forward to another year on the circuit and hopefully a chance to meet in person.
Yeah, well, you're coming up at the end of October with the Erie Otters, so we'll have to connect.
Absolutely. It'll be a perfect way to kick off the Hollow weekend.
There we go. So that's Shawn Bednard, the play-by-play voice of the Erie Otters. And if you want to see more videos like this, remember to hit like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.